I woke up in his chair. 3 men in suits stared at me, behind them him. I stood. I'm sorry. How many shifts today? 3. He turned to his men. Leave. The door closed. Just us now. Sit. I sat. You work 3 jobs, have a son, sleep 4 hours a night. How did he know that? Starting tomorrow you work for me, 1 job, triple pay. I should have said yes. I said no. His eyes went dark, and I realized you don't refuse men like him. If you love intense emotional stories about resilience, power, and unexpected connections, subscribe to Juna AfroKorean Stories. You won't want to miss what happens next. He's back. The words moved through the cleaning crew like static. 2 women near the supply closet stopped talking. A man pushing a cart sped up his pace. I kept my head down. Yellow gloves, blue apron. The uniform makes you invisible if you do it right. Chairman Baek never comes in this late, someone whispered behind me. I didn't turn around. I'd learned not to ask questions. Not about the chairman, not about the top floor, not about why certain offices stayed locked even during cleaning shifts. They say 3 men disappeared last time he worked late. Stop it, you'll scare the new girl. I wasn't new. I'd been cleaning Baek Industries Tower for 6 months, but I was still the outsider, a black woman in Seoul, a single mom working 3 jobs, the kind of person people talked around not to. The elevator doors opened on the 32nd floor. The lights were dimmed. Everything up here smelled like leather and cologne that probably had a name I couldn't pronounce. The marble under my feet cost more than a year of my rent. I pushed the cart past glass walls, past meeting rooms with chairs that looked like modern art. My supervisor's instructions were simple: clean the executive offices, leave the keycard on the desk in the corner office, don't touch anything. She didn't say whose office. My vision blurred as I reached the last door. The office was bigger than my entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city lights spread out like spilled diamonds. A desk the size of a dining table sat in the center. Behind it, a leather chair that looked like a throne. I set the mop against the wall. My legs were shaking. I'd been on my feet for 19 hours straight. The shipping warehouse, the restaurant in Itaewon, now this. The keycard was supposed to be on the desk. I walked toward it, each step heavier than the last. My phone buzzed, a reminder I'd set for myself: check on Micah at 3 a.m. I still had 2 floors to finish. My knees buckled. I grabbed the edge of the desk to steady myself. The chair was right there, just behind me, close enough to touch. 1 minute, I told myself. Just 1 minute to stop my hands from trembling. I sat down. The leather was cool, soft, the kind of luxury I'd only ever touched while cleaning it. My eyes closed before I could stop them. Just 1 minute. The mop fell first. I didn't hear it hit the floor. The bucket tilted next, water spreading across the hardwood in a slow, silent wave. I didn't see it. I was already asleep. I don't know how long passed. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe 20. What I remember is the sound of the door opening, not loud, just a soft click that shouldn't have woken me. But something did. Maybe it was the silence that followed, the kind of silence that presses against your chest. I opened my eyes. 3 men stood in the doorway, black suits, blank faces, the kind of men who look like they've never smiled in their lives. And in the middle, him. Baek Gwang. I'd only seen him once before from across the lobby. He didn't look real up close, tall, dark hair styled back, a suit that probably cost more than everything I owned. He stopped mid-step. His eyes locked on me. Not my face, not at first. His gaze dropped to the chair I was sitting in, the chair that suddenly felt like a throne I'd stolen. Behind him, one of the men whispered, "Who let her in?" Baek lifted one hand. Just one finger. Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. I stood so fast the chair rolled back and hit the window. "I'm sorry," the words tumbled out. "I didn't mean to, I was just, please don't fire me." My voice shook, but I didn't cry. I couldn't afford to cry. Baek Gwang didn't move. He stood there perfectly still, watching me the way you'd watch something that didn't make sense. A glitch, an error. His voice, when he finally spoke, was quiet. How many jobs? I blinked. What? How many shifts today? It wasn't a question. 3, I whispered. His jaw tightened, just slightly, enough that I noticed. He turned to the men behind him. Leave. They didn't hesitate. One by one they filed out. The door closed with a soft click. Now it was just us. Just me and the man whose office I'd fallen asleep in. The man people whispered about in hallways. The man who made 3 men disappear. My heart was pounding so hard I thought he could hear it. He took 1 step forward. Then another. He stopped in front of the desk, in front of me. Sit, he said. 1 word. I stared at him. What? Sit. My legs gave out before I could decide if I was obeying or collapsing. I sat. Baek Gwang pulled out the chair across from me and sat down, like we were having a meeting, like I wasn't a cleaner in a blue apron, like I hadn't just been caught sleeping in the one chair no one was allowed to touch. He folded his hands on the desk. How long have you worked here? He asked. 6 months. Where else? A shipping warehouse and a restaurant in Itaewon. Every day. I nodded. He didn't respond, didn't move, just watched me with eyes that gave nothing away. Then he stood, walked to the bar cart in the corner, poured a glass of water, brought it back. Set it in front of me. Drink. I did because I didn't know what else to do. He returned to his seat. Why, he asked. Why what? Why 3 jobs? I swallowed. My son, he has asthma. The medication isn't cheap and I don't have anyone else. For the first time something shifted in his face. Not pity, not sympathy. Something else. You'll stop working nights, he said. I stared at him. Sir, I can't. You'll keep your pay, double it. The room tilted. I don't accept charity, I said. My voice was trembling, but I meant it. His mouth curved, not quite a smile, something close to respect. Neither do I, he replied. This is employment. I stared at Baek Gwang like he'd just spoken a language I didn't understand. Employment, I repeated. Your workday shifts only, in the administrative wing, filing, data entry, whatever keeps you off your feet for 19 hours. I don't know how to do that kind of work. You'll learn. Why? The question came out before I could stop it, too direct, too bold for someone who'd just been caught sleeping in his chair. Baek leaned back, his expression didn't change but something in the room shifted, got colder. You think I need a reason? Yes. He went still. I should have backed down, apologized, but I was too tired to lie, too tired to pretend this made sense. People like you don't help people like me without a reason, I said. So what is it? What do you want? For 3 seconds he said nothing. Then he stood, walked to the window, hands in his pockets, the city lights reflected off the glass, turning him into a silhouette. When I was 8, he said quietly, my mother worked 4 jobs. She died on a subway platform because she fell asleep standing up. My chest tightened. I'm not your mother, I said. No, he turned to face me, but I know what 47 hours looks like. He returned to his seat. This time he didn't sit across from me. He sat on the edge of the desk, close enough that I could see the exhaustion in his own face, hidden under expensive grooming and perfect posture, but there. Your son, he said, how old? 7. Father. Gone. Family. In the States, I can't afford to go back. He nodded once, like he was filing the information away. You came to Korea alone. For work, I thought it would be easier. It wasn't. Why stay? I looked down at my hands. The yellow gloves were still on. I'd forgotten to take them off. Because going back means admitting I failed. Baek's jaw tightened again, that same micro-expression I'd seen before. You didn't fail, he said. You're still standing. Barely. Barely is enough. I looked up at him, really looked at him, past the suit and the reputation and the chair that no one else could sit in. He looked tired too. Your son, Baek said. What's his name? Micah. The medication he needs, how much? 200,000 every month. It's covered. I stood up too fast, the chair rolled back again. No. Baek raised an eyebrow. No. I'm not taking your money, I don't care how rich you are. I don't care if you're the chairman or the president or, I'm not doing this. Doing what? Owing you. He almost smiled, almost. You already owe me, he said. You slept in my chair, you could argue that's a debt. Then fire me, but don't do this. Don't make me feel like I'm being bought. The room went quiet. Baek stood slowly. He was taller than I'd realized, or maybe I was just too tired to stand straight. I'm not buying you, he said. I'm hiring you, there's a difference. Is there? Yes. Then tell me what you want, because men like you don't do anything without a price. Men like me. Men with power. Baek stepped closer, not threatening, just close enough that I had to look up to meet his eyes. What I want, he said slowly, is for you to stop killing yourself for a system that doesn't care if you survive. I didn't know what to say to that. He stepped back, pulled a card from his jacket pocket, set it on the desk. Report to HR tomorrow, 9 a.m, they'll have your new assignment ready. I didn't agree to this. You don't have to. Then why? Because I can. I picked up the card, it was heavy, embossed, the kind of thing that cost more to print than my weekly groceries. If I do this, I said, I earn it, every single one, I'm not your charity case. Agreed. And if I don't like the work, I quit. Fair, is it? And you don't, I hesitated. You don't get to control my life just because you're paying me more. Baek's expression shifted, not quite respect, something sharper. I don't control people, he said. I protect investments. I'm not an investment. Not yet. The way he said it made my stomach drop. Baek walked to the door, opened it. 3 men in black suits stood waiting in the hallway. Jiang, Baek said to the closest one, run a background check, full detail. On Janelle Patterson and her son. My breath caught. Why? Baek didn't look at me, because I need to know who's been taking advantage of you. No one's. The calls you've been ignoring, the creditors, the men who followed you home last week. His voice stayed calm, flat. I need names. I felt cold. How do you know about that? He finally turned, met my eyes. Because I've been watching this building's security footage for 6 months, he said, and you're the only cleaner who works alone after midnight. That's not. It's practical, you're vulnerable, now you're not. He said it like it was a fact, like he'd already decided. Jiang, Baek continued, cancel any outstanding debts under her name, quietly. Sir. And find out who's running the protection racket in her district. I want a list by morning. Jiang nodded once and disappeared down the hall. I stood there frozen. You can't just. I already did. Baek stepped back into the office, gestured to the chair I'd been sitting in. Sit, he said again. This time I didn't argue. I sat. He stood over me, not looming, just present, a reminder of the space he took up, the power he carried without trying. You'll start tomorrow, he said, 9 a.m, don't be late. And if I don't show up? Then I'll assume you'd rather work yourself to death, and I'll let you. I looked up at him. You don't even know me. I know enough. Why do you care? For the first time, he didn't answer right away. He looked at me like he was deciding how much truth to give. Because people like you don't fall asleep in chairs like this unless they've run out of choices, he said finally, and I remember what that feels like. Baek walked me to the elevator himself. The hallway was empty now. The other cleaners had finished their shifts. The building hummed with the kind of silence that only exists in skyscrapers after midnight. He pressed the button, waited beside me. Your son, he said, does he know you work nights? No, I tell him I'm at school, learning computers. Baek's mouth tightened. He's 7, he knows. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside, turned to face him. I don't trust you, I said. Good, you shouldn't. The doors started to close. But I'll be there tomorrow, I added. Baek nodded once. The doors shut. And as the elevator descended, I realized I couldn't tell if I'd just been saved or marked. When I got home, Micah was asleep. His inhaler sat on the nightstand, half empty. I sat on the edge of his bed and watched him breathe. For the first time in months, I let myself imagine what it would feel like to stop running. I didn't know yet that Baek Gwang had already made calls, that creditors were being silenced, that threats were being erased. I didn't know that from that moment on, I'd never be invisible again. Things are about to get even more complicated. Drop a comment and tell me, would you have taken Baek's offer? 3 weeks later, I realized something was wrong. Not wrong like danger, wrong like things were too easy. The medication arrived at my apartment. No note, no sender, just a box with 3 months' worth of Micah's inhalers and a receipt marked paid in full. The debt collectors stopped calling. The landlord, who'd been threatening eviction for 2 months, suddenly said my rent was sorted out and wouldn't explain further. And when I asked HR about my first paycheck, the number was double what they'd promised. I sat in the break room on my lunch break, staring at the deposit notification on my phone. Is that real? I looked up. A woman from accounting stood in the doorway, mid-30s, designer glasses, the kind of person who'd never worked 3 shifts in her life. Excuse me. Your paycheck, everyone's talking about it. She didn't smile. Must be nice having connections. She left before I could respond. I called the hospital that afternoon. I need to schedule my son's follow-up appointment, I told the receptionist. Oh, Mrs. Patterson, that's already been handled. What? The appointment is next week, Tuesday at 10 a.m., and the specialist visit has been prepaid through the end of the year. My hand tightened around the phone. Who paid for it? I'm sorry, that information is confidential, but everything's taken care of, you don't need to worry. I hung up. I did need to worry. Because I knew exactly who'd done this. Baek Gwang didn't come to my floor often. The administrative wing was 3 floors below the executive offices, but when he did, I felt it before I saw him. The air changed, people straightened, conversations stopped mid-sentence. The first time I saw him after starting my new job, I was carrying files to the records room. He was walking toward the elevators with 2 men in suits. He slowed when he passed me. Just slightly. Our eyes met for half a second. He didn't say anything, didn't nod, just kept walking. But the next day there was a lunchbox on my desk, plain packaging, no note. Inside, rice, grilled fish, vegetables that actually looked fresh. I threw it away. The day after that, another one appeared. I threw that away too. On the 3rd day, I opened it, because Micah needed new shoes and I couldn't afford to waste food. It tasted expensive. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that Baek Gwang hadn't slept properly in 2 weeks. He kept seeing her face, the way she'd looked in his chair that first night, exhausted beyond reason, defenseless, real. He'd built his empire on control, on reading people, on knowing exactly what they wanted and how to use it. But Janelle Patterson didn't want anything from him. She'd thrown away his food, refused his money, looked at him like he was a problem, not a solution. It reminded him of his mother. The way she'd worked herself to nothing, the way she'd refused help from anyone, the way she'd died on a subway platform at 4 a.m. because she was too proud to admit she was drowning. Baek had been 8 years old. He'd sworn that night, kneeling beside her body while strangers stepped around them, that he'd never let it happen again. Not to anyone, but especially not to a woman who reminded him what dignity looked like when you had nothing left. I started noticing the patterns after a month. When I left work after dark, there was always a security guard in the lobby, not the usual one, a different one, younger, more alert. He'd nod at me. Have a good night, Mrs. Patterson. I didn't ask why he knew my name. When I took the subway home, I'd see the same man in a black jacket 3 cars down. He never looked at me directly, but he was always there. One night a drunk man started following me from the station. I walked faster, he walked faster. The man in the black jacket appeared beside me. Mrs. Patterson, he said calmly, your ride is waiting. A car pulled up, black tinted windows, the door opened. I got in. The drunk man disappeared. I didn't ask questions, I just texted Micah that I'd be home soon. But when I got out of the car at my building, I looked back. The man in the black jacket was gone. The car was gone. Like they'd never existed. The whispers started in the second month. I'd walk into the break room and conversations would stop. People would look at me, then look away. One afternoon, I overheard 2 women by the elevators. I heard she's sleeping with him. Chairman Baek, no way. Then why else would she get promoted so fast? She's been here 2 months, I've been here 5 years. Maybe she's just good at her job. Yeah, sure, that's why he walks past our floor 3 times a week now. I kept walking, pretended I hadn't heard. But I had. And the worst part, I couldn't deny it, because I didn't know what Baek Gwang was doing. I didn't know why the medication kept appearing, why the debt collectors stopped, why my life suddenly felt like someone else was steering it. I just knew I couldn't stop it. I tried to see him once. I went to the 32nd floor during lunch, told his assistant I needed to speak with Chairman Baek. She looked at me like I'd asked to meet the president. Do you have an appointment? No, but... Then I'm afraid that's not possible. It's important. Everything is important, Mrs. Patterson. You'll need to submit a formal request. I left. But 2 hours later, there was a note on my desk. Don't come to my office unless I call for you. It's safer this way. No signature, but I recognized the handwriting from the documents I'd been filing. Sharp, precise, controlled. I crumpled the note, threw it away, then pulled it back out of the trash and kept it. It happened on a Thursday. I was working late, most of the floor had cleared out. I was finishing a stack of reports that needed to be filed before the end of the week. My desk phone rang. Mrs. Patterson, this is security. We need you to come to the main office immediately. My stomach dropped. Why is my son okay? This isn't about your son, it's about a security breach. I don't understand. Confidential documents are missing from the executive archive. Your access card was used to enter the restricted area at 11 p.m. last night. I went cold. That's not possible, I left work at 6. Then you need to come explain that, now. I walked to the security office on the 2nd floor. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. 2 guards stood outside the door. They didn't look at me. Inside, a man in a suit sat behind a desk. Older, greying hair, the kind of face that had seen too much. Mrs. Patterson, please sit. I sat. He slid a paper across the desk. An access log. My name was highlighted. Patterson Janelle 2303 Executive Archive Level 9. I wasn't here at 11 p.m., I said. I was home with my son. Can anyone confirm that? He's 7, he was asleep. Then we have a problem. I didn't take anything. I don't even know where the executive archive is. The man leaned back. Someone used your keycard. Either you gave it to someone or someone stole it. I didn't. Either way, Mrs. Patterson, you're responsible. The door opened behind me. I turned. Baek Gwang stood in the doorway. His face was calm, unreadable. But his eyes were cold. Leave us, he said. The man in the suit stood immediately, left without a word. The door closed. Now it was just us. Baek didn't move, didn't sit, just stood there looking at me like I was a problem he hadn't anticipated. Tell me the truth, he said quietly. I didn't do this. I know. I blinked, then why? Because someone wants you gone, and they're using me to do it. Someone wants me gone, I repeated. Who? Baek didn't answer. He walked to the desk, pulled up the security footage on the computer screen. Watch. The video showed the executive archive entrance. Timestamp 2303. A figure in a cleaning uniform approached, swiped a keycard, entered. The person was my height, my build, wearing the same blue apron I used to wear. But it wasn't me. That's not. I know, Baek said again. The gait is wrong, you favor your left leg when you're tired, this person doesn't. I stared at him. You noticed that. I notice everything. He closed the video, turned to face me. Someone cloned your keycard, wore your uniform, made sure the cameras caught just enough to be convincing. Why? Because you're protected, and that makes you a liability to someone who doesn't want me looking too closely at this company. My chest tightened. This is because of you. Yes. Because you helped me. Yes. I stood, my legs were shaking. Then stop helping me, fire me, send me back to night shifts. I can't do this. Baek's expression didn't change. Sit down. No. Janelle. No, my voice cracked. You don't get to do this. You don't get to pull me into your world and then act surprised when it breaks me. I'm not surprised. Then what are you? He went quiet. I'm angry, he said finally, because someone in my organization thinks they can use you to get to me. The next morning, I was called to the executive conference room. Not asked, called. Security escorted me, 2 guards, 1 on each side, like I was a criminal. The hallway was full of people, employees heading to meetings, assistants carrying coffee, everyone stopped to watch. I kept my head down. But I heard the whispers. That's her. The one who stole the files. I knew she was trouble. The conference room was on the 32nd floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, a table that could seat 20 people, 12 executives sat around it, all in expensive suits. Baek sat at the head of the table. He didn't look at me. Mrs. Patterson, one of the executives, said, middle-aged, balding, tie so tight it looked like it hurt. Do you know why you're here? I was told there's been a security breach. There has. Confidential acquisition documents were stolen from the executive archive, documents worth millions, and your keycard was used to access the room. I didn't steal anything. Then how do you explain this? He slid a folder across the table. I opened it. Inside were printed emails, messages I'd never sent, conversations with external contacts I'd never heard of, plans to sell company secrets. All under my names. My hands started shaking. This isn't real, I said. The metadata says otherwise. I don't even know how to. Mrs. Patterson, another executive, spoke. A woman this time, sharp eyes, sharper voice. You've been with this company for less than 3 months. You were given a position you weren't qualified for. You've been receiving special treatment, and now confidential information is missing. I didn't. We have enough evidence to press charges. The only question is whether Chairman Baek wants to handle this internally or involve the authorities. I looked at Baek. He was watching me, expression blank, unreadable. Chairman Baek, I said, my voice was barely a whisper. Please. He didn't respond. They made me stand there for 20 minutes. While they discussed my fate like I wasn't in the room. She should be terminated immediately. We need to make an example of her. If this gets out, the board will ask questions. Then we bury it, fire her quietly, make her sign an NDA. I stopped listening. I thought about Micah, about the medication I wouldn't be able to afford anymore, about the apartment I'd lose, about going back to 3 jobs and no sleep and wondering how long I could keep running. I thought about the way Baek had looked at me that first night, like I mattered. I'd been stupid to believe it. Men like him didn't save people like me, they used us, and when we became inconvenient they threw us away. I should have known better. Mrs. Patterson. I looked up, the balding executive was standing now. Do you have anything to say in your defense? I looked at Baek one last time. He was still watching me, still silent. No, I said, I don't. Because what was the point? The room went quiet. Baek leaned back in his chair, folded his hands. Continue, he said calmly. The woman executive nodded. Then we're agreed. Immediate termination, blacklisted from all subsidiaries. Legal will draft the NDA by end of day. Wait, another voice, a man I hadn't noticed before, younger, sitting 2 seats from Baek. Shouldn't we verify the evidence first? What's there to verify? The access logs don't lie. Access logs can be falsified. Are you suggesting someone framed her? I'm suggesting we do our due diligence before we ruin someone's life. The balding executive sneered. You're new here, Min. You don't understand how these things work. I understand that this woman has a 7-year-old son, and we're about to destroy her based on circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial, we have emails that anyone with admin access could have fabricated. The room erupted, voices overlapping, accusations flying. Baek didn't move. He just sat there, watching, waiting. Then he stood. The room went silent. Baek walked to the window, hands in his pockets, back to the room. Who has admin access to the personnel system? He asked. IT, HR, senior management. How many people total? 15, maybe 20. Get me the list. One of the assistants scrambled to pull it up on the screen. Baek studied it for 10 seconds. Then he turned around. Jiang, he said. The room went cold. Jiang was Baek's head of security, one of his most trusted lieutenants, the man who'd been with him for 10 years. Jiang stood slowly. Sir, you have admin access. Yes, as head of security, I need it to monitor. You also have access to the executive archive, the keycard system, the email servers. Jiang's face didn't change. That's standard for my position. And you were here last night, the night of the breach. I was conducting a security sweep. Alone. Yes. Baek walked toward him, slow, deliberate. Interesting, Baek said, because the camera on the south stairwell shows you entering the building at 10:47 p.m., but your access log says you didn't use your keycard anywhere after that. Jiang went still. Which means, Baek continued, you used someone else's card, someone who wouldn't be questioned, someone expendable. The room was silent. You set her up, Baek said quietly. You cloned her keycard, fabricated the emails, created a narrative that would make her disappear without anyone asking questions. Sir, I would never. Why? Jiang's jaw tightened. I don't know what you're. Why? Baek's voice dropped, colder than I'd ever heard it. Who paid you? Jiang didn't answer. Baek pulled out his phone, held it up. I already know. I've known for 3 days. I just wanted to see if you'd be smart enough to confess. He turned to the room. Jiang has been selling acquisition targets to competitors for 8 months. He needed a scapegoat, someone no one would defend, someone I'd be forced to sacrifice to protect the company. He looked at me. He chose wrong. Baek turned back to Jiang. Security is outside, he said calmly. You're going to walk out of this building, you're going to disappear, and if I ever see you again I won't be this generous. Jiang's face twisted. You're going to ruin me over some cleaner. No, Baek said, I'm going to ruin you because you betrayed me. He stepped closer. But let me be clear. Anyone who touches her, anyone who frames her, threatens her, or uses her to get to me, does so without my permission. He paused. And I don't give second chances. The door opened, 2 security guards stepped inside. Jiang was escorted out. The room remained silent. My knees buckled. I didn't feel it happen. 1 second I was standing, the next the floor was tilting. Baek caught me before I hit the ground. His hands were steady, firm. He lowered me into a chair. Breathe, he said quietly. I couldn't. My chest was too tight, my vision was blurring. Janelle's look at me. I looked up. His face was close, closer than it had ever been. "You're safe," he said. And for the first time since I'd met him, I believed it. Janelle didn't know it yet, but everything had just changed. The executives filed out quietly. No one looked at her. No one apologized. Baek stayed. He didn't let go until her breathing steadied. And when she finally looked at him, really looked at him, she saw something she hadn't expected. Fear. Not for himself. For her. If you're invested in Janelle and Baek's story, subscribe to Juna AfroKorean Stories. Comment below, what do you think Baek is really afraid of? Baek didn't let me go back to work that day. He took me to a private medical room on the 40th floor. I didn't know the building had a 40th floor. Apparently, executives kept doctors on call for emergencies. I wasn't an executive. But I sat in the leather chair anyway, while a woman in scrubs checked my blood pressure. "When did you last eat?" she asked. I couldn't remember. "Yesterday, maybe." She frowned, wrote something on her tablet. "You're dehydrated, blood pressure's too low. When's the last time you slept a full night?" I looked at Baek. He stood by the window, hands in his pockets, watching the city below. "I don't know," I said. "The doctor gave me an IV, said I needed to rest for at least 2 hours, then she left." Baek stayed. "You don't have to be here," I said. "I know." "Then why are you?" He didn't answer right away, just kept staring out the window like the city had answers he was looking for. "Because if I leave," he said finally, "you'll try to go home, and you shouldn't be alone right now." "I'm always alone." He turned to look at me. "Not anymore." I held it together for 10 minutes. Then I started crying. Not the quiet kind, the kind that comes from somewhere deep, the kind you can't control even when you're trying. I covered my face with my hands, tried to stop, couldn't. Baek crossed the room, pulled a chair beside me, sat down. He didn't touch me, didn't tell me it was okay, he just sat there. "I'm sorry," I said through the tears. I don't usually." "Don't apologize. I thought I was going to lose everything." "I know. I thought you were going to let them destroy me." His jaw tightened. I considered it. I looked up at him. "What?" "For 3 seconds I considered letting them fire you. It would have been easier, safer, you'd go back to your old life, I'd go back to mine, no complications." "Then why didn't you?" He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. "Because I've spent my entire life making the easy choice," he said, "and I'm tired of it." "Why me?" I asked. "Why did you help me that first night? You could have fired me, you could have called security, but you didn't." Baek was quiet for a long time. "My mother died when I was 8, he said finally. "She worked 4 jobs, she was exhausted all the time, but she wouldn't ask for help, wouldn't accept charity, wouldn't stop moving." He paused. "One morning she collapsed on a subway platform, heart failure, she was 32. I felt my chest tighten. "I'm sorry." "Don't be, it was a long time ago." "That doesn't make it easier." "No," he looked at me, "it doesn't." "Is that why you helped me, because I remind you of her?" "Partly. And the other part." He hesitated, like he was deciding how much truth to give. "Because when I saw you in that chair," he said slowly, "you weren't afraid, you were exhausted, vulnerable, but not afraid, and I realized I hadn't seen that in years." "Seen what?" "Someone who still had fight left." I didn't know what to say to that. "You've built an empire," I said. "You have money, power, people who follow your orders. Why do you care about someone like me?" "Because empires are empty." His voice was flat, matter of fact. "I have everything and I feel nothing." He looked at me. "Until I saw you." "I don't want you to disappear," Baek said. The words hung in the air between us. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. "You almost did." "But I didn't because of you." "That's the problem." He stood, walked back to the window. "You shouldn't need me to survive, you should have been safe from the beginning, but the world doesn't work that way, and I can't fix it." "I'm not asking you to fix it." Then what are you asking? I stood, the IV tugged at my arm, but I ignored it. I'm asking you to stop treating me like I'm fragile, I said. I'm not your mother, I'm not a charity case, I'm not someone you need to save. Then what are you? I don't know yet. I crossed the room, stopped a few feet from him, but I know I'm not disappearing. Baek turned, we were close now, closer than we'd ever been. You should, he said quietly. Disappear, I mean, it would be safer. Safer for who? For you. And what about you? He didn't answer. Baek Gwang, I said, what are you afraid of? His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes did. I'm afraid, he said slowly, that I'll care too much, and when something happens to you, because it will, I'll burn the world down to fix it. I felt my breath catch. And that terrifies me, he continued, because I've spent my entire life avoiding that exact feeling. I'm not asking you to care, I said. Too late. Then I'm setting rules. He raised an eyebrow. Rules. Yes, if I'm staying, if I'm working here, if I'm accepting your help, then it's on my terms. Go on. First, no more decisions without telling me, no more debt payments, no more anonymous medication deliveries. If you're going to do something for me, you ask first. Agreed. Second, I earn everything. I'm not your project, I'm your employee. If I mess up, you fire me. If I succeed, I get promoted. Fair and square. Agreed. Third, I hesitated. If this, whatever this is between us, if it becomes something you can't control, you walk away, because I can't survive losing someone else I care about. Baek's expression softened, just slightly. I can't promise that, he said. Then promise me this, you won't lie to me, even if the truth is ugly, even if it hurts, no lies. He held out his hand. Deal. I shook it. His grip was firm, warm. He didn't let go right away. Janelle, he said quietly, you're not alone anymore, I need you to understand that. I do. Do you? I looked up at him. Yes, but you need to understand something too. What? I'm choosing to stay, not because I need you, but because I want to. Something shifted in his face. Not relief, not gratitude. Respect. Dawn broke over Seoul 2 hours later. I stood by the window on the 40th floor watching the city wake up. The lights faded as the sun rose. The buildings turned from black silhouettes to glass towers. Baek stood beside me, not touching, just present. What happens now? I asked. Now you go home, rest, spend time with your son. And then you come back and we figure it out. Figure what out? How to survive this? I looked at him, this. He met my eyes. The word felt too big, too heavy, but it was true. This wasn't just about protection anymore. It wasn't about charity or guilt or obligation. It was about two people who'd been running their entire lives and finally stopped long enough to see each other. I'm not promising forever, I said. I'm not asking for it. Good. But I am asking for now. I nodded, now I can do. I went home that morning. Micah was awake. He'd made himself cereal, spilled half of it on the counter. Mom, you're home early. I hugged him tight. Yeah, baby, I'm home. Are you okay? You look like you've been crying. I'm fine, just tired. You're always tired. I know. But less tired than before. I smiled. Yeah, less tired than before. That afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. Your position has been made permanent. Full benefits, increased salary. Report to HR Monday for new contract. BG. I didn't respond. But I saved the number. Because this wasn't a fairy tale. Baek Gwang wasn't a prince, I wasn't Cinderella. We were two survivors, two people who'd been alone too long, two people who didn't know how to trust but were willing to try. And that was enough. For now. 3 blocks away, in his private office, Baek Gwang sat in the chair no one else was allowed to touch. He thought about the woman who'd fallen asleep in it months ago. The woman who'd refused his help, pushed back, set boundaries, chosen to stay. He thought about the way she'd looked at him that morning, not with fear, not with gratitude. With understanding. And for the first time in 20 years, Baek Gwang felt something he'd forgotten existed. Hope.